Hello everyone, my name is Vijay Redkar. Today let's talk about how to automate the creation of JUnits and the requisite mocks that go along with it. Uh, we all agree that JUnits provide us the essential guardrails that prevents and stops the inadvertent breakage in the functionality. It also instills a great degree of confidence when we get into situations where code change, we have to rapidly do code changes and functionality changes, and this is so true in this age of microservices and agile. New engineer who comes into the team also gets a high level map of the flow of that particular functionality of that particular class. It helps him understand the expected input and the expected output of that functionality. Helps him become productive much more faster. Also, it gives him the confidence that he can go ahead and make the changes and then also rely on these JUnits to indicate any kind of inadvertent, accidental introduction of bugs and flaws. So this provides a huge degree of support in our development cycle, and ultimately also avoids or greatly reduces the possibilities of production disasters. Yet, despite all these advantages, not all goes as planned when it comes to writing the JUnits. Project deadlines, pressures, etc. almost always ensures that JUnits are a side activity at best. They are least prioritized, hardly ever planned, and most of the times totally skipped, which means that we don't have enough coverage on our code. The reasons for this are multiple. Some of the prominent reasons, as you and I already know, are that JUnits are time intensive activities. They are laborious as well as meant to a large extent. It is also not very standardized. Each developer or each engineer has its own way of writing the JUnits. Essentially, a legal basic JUnit involves three components. One is invocation of the method that you're trying to test. Second is writing the corresponding mocks for any external interactions that are there in that particular method. And thirdly, verification of the result that comes out from that invocation, checking whether that expected result is whether the actual result is same as the expected, and then marking it as a fail or a pass. Many a times we see that one or more of these components get missed out or are left out because of either lack of knowledge or plainly insufficient JUnits. For example, you make an invocation but don't write the assertions. In other cases, you write the assertions but don't write the actual invocation, and in some other cases you may not even write the stubs. In all these cases, it renders the JUnit useless as well as to a large extent misleading. Now, when you add the other angle of legacy code to it, that becomes a completely another level of complexity, because adding JUnits to a piece of code or a bunch of code that you don't have much knowledge about becomes even more challenging. So whatever is the reason, whether it's genuine or it's a mere excuse, skipping JUnits is not an option. When we skip JUnits, we willingly embrace production disasters. What if we had an option of automating the creation of these JUnits? What if we could just provide the name of our input Java class, and then the automation would create the corresponding legal, working, and basic JUnit, which meets the basic, at least the basic standards of a JUnit. That's exactly what we are going to demonstrate today. This application basically takes in the name of your class. It could be your REST controller, it could be your service class, any of your handlers, your Kafka classes, and it will generate the corresponding JUnit class along with the requisite mocks for that particular JUnit. This application utilizes reflection utils and does a lot of deduction based on that, understands the project structure, understands the structure of your class, and then makes the necessary creation of those components that are required. For example, identification of the mock beans, identification of what kind of stubbing needs to be applied, and ultimately what kind of assertions and verifications need to be put in place to make this generated JUnit very effective. You will also realize that this is almost zero upfront setup. What you need to do is you only need to provide the local path of your working Spring Boot, Maven based Spring Boot application, and then this automation will do the necessary deductions and the scanning of your application, and then take the steps that are required to create those corresponding JUnits. And at the end of it, you will also be able to run those automated JUnits and also be able to generate the corresponding code coverage results. At the max, you will be required to ensure that there are certain dependencies that are added to your POM, dependencies like Jacopo, dependencies like JUnits, and Spring Boot starter test. This is pretty much basic and is available in almost every every Java Spring Boot developers machine, and does not really require much of an effort. As we go through this demo, we will also see different levels of complexities. At the first, we will run this automation on a service class and on a controller class which has simple single methods. We will see what is the corresponding JUnit that gets generated, and once that is done, we will go a little a notch up, and then we will see does this automation work for a service class or a controller that has multiple methods, which normally is the case in our day-to-day development. In the third level of complexity, we will see situations where we have to generate JUnits for classes like Kafka, a Kafka producer, a Kafka consumer. That makes things a little more complex because there is a dependency on the Kafka broker, on the Kafka topics, etc., which are external to your JUnit. We will see how that is to be done. And in the final level of complexity, we will see we will take an application from the wild. We'll just download an application from GitHub, and then we will run our automation on that. That will simulate the situation where a new engineer comes into your team, into your organization, has absolutely no knowledge of what that application does, but is able to run this automation and generate the corresponding JUnits for it, and then thus increase the coverage of your application. So let's get started. Thank you.